Welcome back, America. When we want to know all things economic, and even more than that, economic growth, we go to Steve Moore. He's the co-founder of Unleash Prosperity, former President Trump economic advisor. Steve Moore, there's so many great things going on with our economy, and things are just beginning to percolate up as well. Everything seems to be in place for an explosion of economic growth, and really the media are either ignoring it or they're reporting the Democrats who are just trashing everything. What do you say about this?
Well, first of all, Mark, that was just a virtuoso performance in terms of explaining and educating America about what's really going on in this country. You and I, when you were talking about what's happening in the blue states versus the red states, you know what I was thinking in my mind? I was thinking about the old days. You and I are old enough to remember when you had an East Germany and a West Germany, and you had a North Korea and a South Korea, and people were moving from. Nobody moved from West Germany to East Germany. Many people died trying to get across the Berlin Wall. And this is sort of what we're seeing today, is this massive migration, Mark, out of these deep blue states with high taxes, high costs. You're right. The cost of just about everything in blue states is double what it is in red states. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not by much. And so whenever I'm debating a Paul Krugman or some of these liberal economists, I say, if your model is so great, why is everybody leaving? I mean, my God, Florida has gained $1 trillion of wealth over the last 10 years from New York and my home state of Illinois and New Jersey and Connecticut, Massachusetts and California. And so the most important thing that we do right now is make sure that we don't turn America into blue state America. Who's the front runner, by the way, for the Democrats for the presidency? Gavin Newsom? Really? He's a complete disaster for the state of California. So thank you for explaining that to the American people. Look, the Trump record on the economy is absolutely outstanding. And the data that just came in a week ago, falling inflation, more jobs for the economy. You're quite right, sir, that people's real wages are rising. I estimate that the average family in 2025, I'm talking people right in the middle, Mark, of the income spectrum, had about a $2,500 increase in their income above inflation. And you left out one thing, Mark, when you were talking about incomes. Don't forget, because of the big, beautiful bill, that adds about another $2,000 or $3,000 of take-home pay to families. We're talking about $5,000 or $6,000 increase in wages and salaries and income for average middle-class families, not the rich, the people in the middle.
And yet, the media and the Democrats do what they always do. They're a wet blanket. They are deceptive, if not flat out dishonest. The president has a State of Union address coming up Tuesday. There will be millions of pairs of eyes watching this. Apparently, some of the Democrats can't handle it. They won't be there, and they'll do what they usually do, make fools of themselves. But that's an opportunity, I think, a unique one for the president to really get out the message on this economy and what's being done and so forth. I know you know the president. Is this something you think the president is going to do during the State of the Union?
Yeah, he's just completely focused on the whole affordability issue and how his policies have led to lower inflation. Incidentally, as you know, Mark, last week we got a 2.4% mark on inflation. That's not quite where we want to be. We want to get it down to 2%. But one of the things I told the president was, my God, 86% of the inflation that people are angry about, including people like my wife, who does our grocery shopping, that happened under Biden. It was all of the, not all of it, but almost all of the increase in the prices happened under Joe Biden, whether it was inflation, whether it was gas prices, and so on. And incidentally, we used to use gas prices as the index for how people are doing financially. We've seen a big, big reduction in gas prices around the country, except you know what state still has high gas prices, Mark?
California.
Yeah, California, they're still at $4.50 a gallon. You can save $2 a gallon by just moving out of California. Again, how could Gavin Newsom be the president? Is he going to run on saying, oh, I'm going to make America look like California?
Now, what he'll do is lie, and they lie all the time. You know, I remember, Steve Moore, when George H.W. Bush was running for re-election, and Bill Clinton kept saying we were in a recession, we were in a recession, we were in a recession. The media repeated it. We were not in a recession. But everybody thought we were in a recession, and that didn't help him.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.